Hi, my name is Schadt, CEO of DoubleHorn. Today I'm joined by Cristina Silingardi, Managing Director of vCFO. How are you, Cristina?
Doing good, thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, before we dive into the world of CFOs and the trends and vCFO itself, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, your background, and how you ended up as Managing Director.
Well, I never expected to be in Austin. That was a long journey to get here. I'm originally from Brazil, and during college moved to Germany for an internship. Loved it, loved the industry I was working on there. Came back to Brazil, finished college, graduated, moved back to Germany, worked in Germany then many years. Started in banking, moved to energy, and then later to equipment manufacturing.
Okay.
And then in the late 90s, there was a lot of semiconductor going on in Austin.
Yes.
And at that point, the company I was working for in Germany asked if I would come to Austin to start a subsidiary. And that's what brought me here.
Wow.
Yeah, so
You didn't plan on it, but hopefully it was a pleasant surprise.
It was a great surprise, and I truly enjoyed being in Austin. My husband is German. We met when I was working there. He moved to Austin with me, and the company was a success. I stayed as their CFO here for another 7 years. Our children were born in Austin, and at some point we decided that Austin was home. And once we decided it, it was very important to me to join a company that was involved in the community. So being a guest was no longer, what we wanted.
Right.
If we're going to be here, we have to have an impact. We want to know the community and be part of it. And that's when I joined vCFO.
Good.
Yeah.
So you started down the route then of engagements as yourself before you
Yes.
ended up as the managing director. Kind of walk
Yes.
us through that vCFO part.
So as a CFO for vCFO, consulting CFO, what really intrigued me about it was the opportunity to work with multiple companies. And coming out from energy and banking and then semiconductor manufacturing, I was really looking forward to working with businesses that were in interesting industries that usually couldn't afford a CFO, right? So an arts dealer would not be able to afford a CFO, or perhaps a small retail or a school or a medical group. So working as a consulting CFO gave me the opportunity to really impact those businesses and be their CFO for several years.
Yeah.
See them grow, help them grow, and help them through that journey. And I absolutely enjoyed it. Enjoyed working with our controllers, with our payroll, with our HR consultants that can help our CFOs in those engagements. And then at some point, about 3 years ago, I took over as the managing director for our Austin office. And that's part of our growth, in simply having a managing director in each market where we're present.
So before we move though to the vCFO, because I know there's some key differentiators there that we were discussing actually earlier. The managing director, is that role in and of itself, you are the managing director,
Yes.
or do you still act in consulting engagements?
I don't.
Or is there a clear line there that you're part of just the management at this particular point?
There is a clear line, and that is dictated truly by the volume of business in Austin. With as many clients as we have, and one of my largest responsibilities being the quality program and managing the success rate with our clients, making sure that we are still aligned with our clients, it really demands a lot of my time. As a CFO consultant, I always met with my clients and led those engagements. It was very deep and intense with them. As a managing director, I touch base with all our clients. And the goal is to make sure that I understand where those companies are going, if their needs are changing, if our team has to change,
Right.
if we're doing well, or if we need to adjust. So that is my focus, mainly my focus there, and then mentoring our team of CFOs.
Okay, good. So vCFO,
Yeah.
tell us about it and what makes it different.
Okay. So vCFO was the pioneer in the CFO services. We started in Austin 22 years ago.
Wow.
With a group of CFOs, and their goal was to be able to provide CFO services, high-level finance and accounting and HR services to companies that were too small to be able to afford a full-time resource. And in many cases, they really did not need a full-time resource. So our model is the fractional CFOs, fractional HR directors, fractional controllers as well, working with those companies that continue to have the need for whatever reason. It could be complexity, it could be growth, it could be projects, but don't need that resource on a full-time basis.
And Cristina, expand on fractional, because I think that's key. Staffing you know,
yeah.
recruiting,
Yeah,
headhunting, if you
yeah,
will,
yeah,
staffing,
yeah.
and then fractional consulting. Because I
Yes.
think that's a differentiator. Right there.
It certainly is. We're not a staffing company, and the main difference is that our consultants are full-time employees with vCFO.
Okay.
Our goal is to keep them, to continue developing them. We hire people with a lot of experience. We do not make somebody a CFO. The CFOs come to us with 15, 20 years as a CFO already in the industry, and they're working with us on a full-time basis, possibly working with 4 to 5 clients at the same time. Those
Okay.
are companies that need that level of expertise, and their needs change over time. A CFO might be working with one client 10 hours a week, but with another client 20 hours a week. It might be that for a few months they're working a lot more with one client because they're fundraising, they're developing
Seasonalities of some
absolutely.
sort, yeah.
Typically, seasonality not necessarily of the business, but of the business growth.
Okay.
You know, are you now in a phase where you have to redo your forecast, redesign your systems, your processes, reevaluate how to scale up your business? Are you hiring a lot of people and adding a lot of customers that might require different systems or different processes in there as well, and adjusting your business? And we can help you
Okay.
get over that.
Good. Well, I know that something that I'm very interested in, and I believe our viewers are as well, is let's talk about the CFO today, if you will, which
Okay.
is very different than the CFO probably of 10 or 15 years ago.
Yes.
And then give us your thoughts on, for an aspiring CFO or somebody that just took over a role as a CFO, and really what the future holds from your optics,
Yeah.
from VCFOs who clearly is sitting in a bird's eye view there
Yeah.
from a human capital standpoint.
Sure. And thinking back, in my career also as a CFO, I think a few decades ago, if you looked at a CFO and the accounting team and finance and accounting and all that together, it was very isolated. It was a cost driver. It was definitely, your role was, let's put the financials together, let's be auditable, right?
Right.
And it became really part of operations. We need to understand the business. We need to be part of every department. We are a service provider. It doesn't matter if you're a consultant CFO or if you're in-house a CFO. You have to see yourself as a service provider and help the management team lead the business.
Okay.
So the focus is no longer, our controllers are fantastic at making sure your books are right. And the CFOs need to have the technical expertise, but that's not their role. Their role is, what does the management team need to know to run the business? What are the KPIs? What are the systems should be utilizing?
Okay.
And now with data, you have to be prepared to embrace data.
Yeah.
Embrace data, utilize it, select, and make that available to everybody else in the company in a way that they can use.
Do you see a hotter trend in terms of industry or even a sub-industry at this particular point?
In different markets, yes. Looking at Austin, when we started, when the company started here 22 years ago, it was very tech-based, and we still get the question, do you guys work a lot with startups and tech companies? We do, but not only.
Right.
It's very diversified now. We are seeing a lot of needs in the medical industry, many roll-ups, clinics that we've worked with one of our clients in acquiring many different companies that were a good fit for their portfolio, PE-based, private equity
Yes.
investment behind that, so that we see a lot of consolidations. But we also see retail, consumer goods growing a lot in Austin. It's a little bit different in our Denver market, more mature companies,
I was
more
going to ask you to
traditional
expand on
companies.
that. Why don't you let the audience know, first of all, there's 3 other markets.
Yes, so we our headquarters in Austin still,
Okay.
but we're also based in Dallas, Houston, and Denver.
Okay.
And we work mostly with clients close to our offices. The part of our name, virtual, is truly an option for the client. We prefer to work face-to-face.
Okay.
Most of the times we have an office at our clients. We are there in all their management teams. We attend and present at their board meetings. We're part of their team.
Yeah.
The virtual part is an option for the clients that are not close to our offices or that themselves are virtual.
Right.
And they might not be there. So the industries we work with are different in each market, but our hiring is also different. Our CFOs come from from different industries with very different backgrounds, one from another. So we have the ones that have more manufacturing experience, and we're seeing more and more around Austin. Others that have a strong medical practice, hospital management, professional services. The services industry will continue to grow, and
Right.
really understanding it, understanding the metrics, the dynamics, and the pace.
Yeah.
It's real important.
So go back, you were headed down the path around Denver. And I find that interesting because there's probably some similarities between Dallas and Houston, obviously because of
Yeah.
energy, but I could see there being some differences as well, and you can elaborate that on that. But talk about the clientele in Denver.
A lot of traditional businesses, mid-sized companies, and I think they are a great example of growing companies working with a fractional CFO. Those companies are very successful, doing well, profitable, growing, and they still don't need a full-time CFO because they don't have that much complexity. Those are
Right.
traditional, solid businesses. So they still need the strategic guidance from a CFO, but a fractional CFO can take them really far.
Yeah, yeah. What about Houston and Dallas?
In Houston, we see both oil and gas too, but we also see a lot of medical, right, and biotech in Houston, for sure. Dallas is a mix, a lot of professional services, traditional business as well, retail clients, large retail clients. So each market has a different flavor,
Yeah.
but the CFO skills are really transferable.
Yeah.
And yes, industry knowledge is important, but being able to transition and change as the business are changing is a key component of the CFOs.
Yeah. What about from a regulatory standpoint? Just let's talk, whether that's U.S. based or international. What's on the forefront? I mean, is there anything that's hot that you see coming down the pipeline that from an accreditation or certifications or something again that is it maybe influenced by cloud technologies or again is there a hotter characteristic of a consultant or something that you would ask folks to focus on
Yeah.
more?
I think as a consultant, you always have to be looking at what is changing, what is out there, right? Our clients are bringing us in to tell them what else they should be doing. They're doing well, how could I do better, right? And those are the ideas that we bring. It is looking at technology, definitely cloud solutions. Is it really an ERP or are there other applications, CRM and everything else that they might need for their business, different requirements in terms of technology, if they have governmental contracts, all that. But in terms of changes, the new accounting standards for sure, that's going to impact everybody. And we took a very proactive role in that, working with our clients even before they had to implement the new accounting standards, but working with their bankers as well. And one thing that people don't understand is when there's a change in accounting principles, your financials are going to look different.
Right.
Your company hasn't changed. However, if you have that and you have covenant reports, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly you might not meet those covenant reports. And that is really form over substance, right? Nothing has changed. But
Right.
educating those bankers ahead of time so that if they need to, for example, change your covenants or understand why you're not going to meet them is really important.
Yeah.
That is part of it. GDPR, the new privacy laws in Europe.
Talk a little bit about that. We get asked about that from time to time.
Okay. I think what I would point out is most people don't understand that it's applicable to them. And they think I'm doing business in the US. It is not really applicable to me. Well, if you collect data from anybody in Europe, anybody residing in Europe, yes, it is. It really impacts how you share data, even simple things like invitations to events, right? Or outreach to your clients. You have to be aware of that, and you have to be ready to go through your checklists, make sure your processes comply.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a nightmare, but it can't be ignored. And I think that is when people say, well, it sounds so big, I'm just going to wait for it and see if I really need to address it. Be proactive.
Yeah.
And that's part of the CFO role, is really looking forward. What you should be considering, have you thought about it? Have you looked into it?
Right.
And our role is really to fit in with your team. So as we bring things to your attention, many times our clients are able to handle those things. We don't need to do everything for them.
Right.
We can. So if they don't have the bandwidth or don't have the competency in-house, nobody can do everything, right? And companies that are growing have to be smart about how they hire.
Yeah.
So if it is something that can be solved with a fractional resource, we can bring somebody from our team.
How do you grow this business? And is it different? Is it different? And in that answer, maybe address the competition a little bit, because
Sure.
there's not an industry or service or product that does not have some type of competition.
Absolutely.
I mean, so is the Denver strategy different than the Dallas and Houston? Is Austin different, or is there a cohesive plan for all markets? And so talk about the strategy to grow over 19 and,
Sure.
and 2020, and really where's your competition lie?
Okay. So our growth has been different in each market. I do believe the competition is different in each market as well. Austin is attracting both employers, competitors, employees, not attracting enough talent. We're all suffering through the labor shortage.
I bet there is, right?
Yeah.
Is it a gross shortage? I mean, would you say it's an epidemic at this particular point, a huge problem, or?
I think it is a big problem still. You know,
Yeah.
we're all happy when larger companies are coming to Austin, but there are not enough employees being brought to Austin to fulfill those needs.
No, I know we see it on the tech side.
Yeah.
You know, from a cloud engineers or architects. So I would imagine that
And we see that in accounting and finance and
Yeah.
HR as well. You know, for some of our clients, we literally do everything finance and accounting and HR for them. And one of the reasons they prefer us to do everything is, you know, we can't deal with the turnover anymore. We
Yeah.
can't keep accounting folks in. You know, there's a shortage there. On the CFO side, what we hear also from fellow CFOs in the market, is that the life cycle of a CFO in Austin, if you can talk about it like in those terms, it's very short now. There's so many transactions, so many acquisitions going on.
Okay.
So a CFO no longer is staying with the company that they're in for 10 years. They're
Right.
staying maybe 3 years.
Right.
And so for many CFOs, our model is really, really interesting because I've been there 10 years. We have staff that has been there much longer than that. We are always adding new people, so there are definitely newer employees with vCFO.
Right.
But even if one of our clients is acquired, or if they outgrow us, they grow so much that we recommend that they hire a full-time CFO in-house. Our CFOs have other clients. We're always pipelining new business for them, and it is a long-term career option for them.
Right.
But it has changed. In terms of competition, as you asked, I think we're in a unique position. We hire very experienced staff. Our CFOs have had the experience, are very recognized in the market, in the industries that they come from, and they are not learning the job as they're helping our clients, but also they are there for the long run. So when we are talking about strategic help, that's exactly where we are. We're not a staffing agency where you can use one of our consultants this month, next month that person has already been hired somewhere.
Right.
You really have the knowledge about your company staying with vCFO for very long. It is strategic, it is very detailed oriented, but very operational at the same time.
So would you run in then directly to like regional accounting firms, or I mean, again, back to the competition. I mean, if your business development group is trying to build a pipeline,
Right.
I mean, what's the, I guess, the most common path of
Approach.
resistance? You know, or you know, we already got somebody. That's, well, they probably wouldn't even be talking with you if
Right.
If that, but what are the other resources? Because you made it very clear, staffing is that's not where you're playing.
No.
Right. So would it be the larger regional consulting firms that you run into?
Some. I would say that it is the type of needs. If they're really looking just for bandwidth, we can help them. We have a recruiting division just for finance and accounting and HR and C-suite, and we can help them find the right resources. Mostly the business growth for us comes from additional partners recommending that we talk to specific companies,
Okay.
that they have their specific pain points of not being able to scale their business, not knowing how to grow. So it's not necessarily a bandwidth issue anymore, but it's truly leadership issue.
Yeah, yeah.
And being able to utilize those resources at that moment in time and have us be part of their team. So with competition, I don't see necessarily as competing with companies that address projects or short-term needs. Right. We can do those projects as well, and for our clients we do occasionally. It might be a system implementation. It might be just changing process. It might be just filling in for their growth until they're able to hire somebody full-time. However, that's not typically where we grow. We see banks, we see attorneys, we see CPA firms recommending that we talk to their clients for those reasons. They are growing faster than they can,
Yeah.
and they don't have that expertise in-house.
Well, good. Well, that brings us to a closure.
Well, thank
you so much.
My pleasure.
I know I'm a big fan of vCFO. been familiar with them for a long time, so good luck to you, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so
And
much.
thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. Thanks for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at the next C-Level Chat.